Folks, I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office. Welcome back. And this week we are focusing and continuing from last week to talk to as many candidates as we can for office all around the North Georgia area. And today I have with me candidate for Gilmer County Probate Judge, Mr. Scott Chastain. How are you doing today, Mr. Chastain?
I'm doing well, Brian. I appreciate you having me on this morning.
You know, I'm blessed, and I'll say it like that. I'm blessed to live in an area where I get to know all the candidates, and not just because you guys are candidates. When most people go over and qualify to run for an office, I already know them, and I've known you for quite some time. And let me ask you, let's just get right into it. You've made a decision to run for probate judge. We're not here today to go through the debate we had in the past or some of the forums or whatever, but just to strictly discuss with the voters, get to know you, why you want to be their probate judge in Gilmer County.
Of course, I'm a lifelong resident here in Gilmer County. Was born, raised, went to school here, graduated from here, got a family here, pastor a church here. I'm currently serving as the Gilmer County surveyor, elected to that position in 2008. And in the last 8 years, I've tried my best to be able to serve the people of this county in that role, as well as a pastor, as well as a Chamber of Commerce, Optimus. Just recently got into Rotary Club, which I spent Saturday doing at a conference on that in Forsyth County, which was very interesting. So I've just had a drive since college to serve people. That's kind of how I guess that's fell my lot in life. Since serving as county surveyor, there's been ways that I could help folks that were in a bind, that needed to do something and make payments. They couldn't make the full payment right up front. And some I've donated because I knew they were in a hardship. But I find myself in the last several years feeling like that there's something more that I could do than just marking somebody's line or providing them a plat. So I had spoke with Judge Mullins several years ago. We had a case up there that I was involved in with a survey. And I kind of got a little feel of what she did as probate judge. And over the years, I've kind of kept up with that. And last fall, when I realized she was going to retire, I did a lot of praying, a lot of soul searching, talking to my wife, my family, the deacons at the church, and friends I have in the community. And I shared with them the desire that I had to do more and run for this office. So after lots of prayer, I decided that I would. Because I want to be able to help people, serve people at some of the worst times they have in their life. I want to be there for them to help guide them through that process.
Well, let me ask you a question. According to the state of Georgia, you meet the qualifications to be Gilmer County probate judge. You're not required to be an attorney in a county less than 96,000 population. You meet all the requirements to be a probate judge. But out of the 4 candidates, you have the least amount of connection to the probate court itself. Two of your opponents are attorneys at this time and have practiced within the probate court, and another opponent has worked in the district attorney's office for quite some time and has an understanding of the process of the probate court. That being said, how are you able to tell the citizens of Gilmer County that you can be the probate judge, you will understand what's going on in there, and you will be a full-time, and that has come up, and I understand the full-time, and I understand we get off at 5 or 6 o'clock, where some of you do. I mean, I don't know why you got people only work half a day. I consider 8 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon half day. But if you guys want to continue to work half day, but probate judge full time, how can you convince the citizens that you can do what they need done in that office?
Well, you're exactly right. The revised number, I believe, now is 90,000. I think
is it 90?
I think they've changed that to 90,000. If you have more than that, then you're required to be an attorney. If not, then you're not required. And you're correct. I do meet the requirements of Gilmer County's population. Before I ever qualified for this race, I had a conversation with a sitting probate judge that is an attorney. And because I wanted to find out what disadvantage I had, if any, over the others that had law backgrounds. So I went and had a conversation with him, and I told him, I said, look, you don't know me, I don't know you, so feel free to hurt my feelings because I need to know this before I get involved in this race. And I asked him the simple question, what advantage would an attorney have over somebody like me as probate judge? And he kind of leaned back in his chair and he said, well, Scott, I was a practicing attorney for several years before I decided to run for probate judge. And he said, but when I was elected and I took office as probate judge, I didn't know a thing about being a judge. I had never been a judge. I had argued cases, but I'd never heard cases. I'd never had to make a decision on a case. I'd always had one side of the story because that was what I did. So he said, as far as an advantage, the only thing that I can see that an attorney would have as an advantage over you would be their ability to research the law quicker. That's what we're trained to do as attorneys, is to research law. He said, but when you're elected, they give you all the information you need. Everything's online today. He said, you won't have any problem at all researching the law. It's just, you just got to look for it and apply it. I can't change the law. The attorneys can't change the law. We all have to go by the law and apply it as it's written. I hear a lot about this, be ready day one. Well, it ain't like I can get elected and call a timeout for 30 days. When I go into office, I'm got to be ready for day one. So just like it was in my business, you don't start a business and then 45 days later or 6 months later decide that you're now going to start running your business. That's not how that works. So I'm not concerned at all. I had someone ask me the other day, and they were pretty frank about it. They said, tell me how you can do, how you can be the probate judge and not be an attorney. And I looked at him and I said, you tell me how you can do the probate judge and be an attorney. And he kind of looked and said, what does that mean? And I said, well, think about it. And I know we've discussed conflicts off and on in this race. And I know we all have conflicts. That's just the way it is. We all, four of us, know a lot of people in the county. We got big families in this county.
Yeah, I guarantee the county that the person that's elected probate judge will be from here. That's the best guarantee I can make.
Yeah, you could bet on that one, I'm sure. But anyway, we're all going to have the conflicts that exist with family and stuff like that. As far as church folks, that's just not true. I talked with Judge Mullins the other day. Conflicts that way is when if you think that you can't make a fair decision, or it appears that you couldn't make a fair decision, then that would be a conflict. But if Judge Mullins recused herself from every church person, family member, or somebody she run into in the grocery store, she would never be able to hear a case.
Yeah, I can understand
So,
that.
I mean, you're going to have a little common sense on the conflict issue. My concern more is, and I've said this from the beginning with those that are in the law practice, is they have, they both say, Mr. Andrew and Mr. Teague both say that they have done a lot of work in probate court. Well, that's representing a lot of people in probate court. So when you do that, and then all of a sudden you switch gears to go to be the judge, you can't hear those cases. You couldn't sit and be the judge for people that you've represented in the past, or even if your firm has represented those in the past. So as far as me being able to do the job of the probate judge, I can assure you this. If I had any question that I was not capable of doing the job of probate judge, I would have never entered this race. But I do. We want to talk about the law. And it's a very important part of it. But there's a lot more that goes on up there in that office. You're managing money. You're managing people. You're dealing with the public. And all of that has fell directly in my line of work with this business that I've got. It's, I've started it from the ground up, prayed for the good Lord to send me clients, and He has, and He's kept me going this long. I've been able to take the money that I had, which was very little, and be able to keep it and pay folks, deal with the public, deal with staff. At one time, 2006 or 7, I was dealing with 20 some odd staff members. And there's a lot of personalities that's when you got 20 of them together. There's a lot when you got 3 of them together, but 20 of them is really difficult. But there's a lot more that goes into it than the law. So I think all rounded together, that I bring a pretty good amount of experience to the job or position of a probate judge.
Let me ask you this question, because your opponents have brought this up when I interviewed them last week. The question to Mr. Lohman, a practicing attorney, and Mr. Teague, a practicing attorney, the question to them is full-time probate judge, and we understand what that means, and actually not practicing law, and they have committed to full-time probate judge, and said that they will still, when I say practice, the videos say for itself, practice somewhat in some ways where needed, but they would not put the duties of probate judge second. So that being said, the question they have brought up, you have a business. They have a practice or involved in a practice. Now, outside of shutting their practice down, they're still going to hold their law license and do some things. How do you plan to run your business and do this? Tell the folks that, because I think that's fair turnabout. Would you not agree?
Most definitely. And let me say this. I do not doubt that any of the other 3 candidates will be there when they're supposed to be. I believe, especially now that they've promised to be that, the citizens of Gilmer County would hold them to that. As far as my surveying business, right now I currently own it 100%. It's mine. I have 3 staff members other than myself that work there, and one other staff member is also a registered land surveyor, just like myself. The goal is, the transition will be, if elected, between now and the time I take office, is for the transition of what I do there daily, which is answer the phone, talk to clients. As one of my staff members say, I'm the guy behind the desk that signs the check. I will transition that part of what I do to this staff member that has the license. I will not be there during the day because I don't think it's right for me to be there during the day. And if, after hours, which I'm going to go back to something you said, as probate judge, I don't believe you ever clock out. There's no 8 to 5. There's no way that you leave at 5 o'clock and say, okay, I'll go back to the probate judge's office at 8 in the morning. That's not going to happen. There's going to be times in the middle of the night, middle of the morning, after you've left, got home, that you have to come back. So a full-time judge is just that. It's more than what we think, 8 to 5. It's full-time, your life, basically, that you're going to be helping people, which is what I've done for 20-some-odd years now, so I'm used to that. But as far as the business aspect of what I've got, be very limited time that I'm there. And my best guess is they won't need me there because they're very efficient without me. They've been able to do a lot in the last 3 months since I've been out doing other things. So I have all the confidence in the world that they can take care of that without me. So I'm not really worried about that. I don't think folks should be worried about that. The issue with this full-time business is that, and the difference, in my opinion, is you've got a probate judge that owns a surveying business. And you've got candidates that own or are part of law firms. To me, there is a fundamental difference in what the conflicts could be. Sir, I've been the county surveyor for 8 years. In 8 years, I have never been to the probate office for any kind of survey-related issue. Will there be conflicts maybe somewhere down the road? I don't know. In 8 years, there's not been. Had I been the judge in 8 years, there would have been no conflicts whatsoever. So I think it's the fundamental difference in, they may say, well, he'll have a conflict because he owns a business. Well, if you look at it, their conflicts as an attorney is they've represented people before. Their firm represents people before. So the conflict issue there, I think, is a huge difference in my opinion. As a matter of fact, we've discussed, and I've heard it said a lot of times, that the 90,000 Cobb County, Hall County, Forsyth County, Fannin County, Pickens County, and Gilmer deserves to be like the rest of those counties. Well, no disrespect to the other counties, I don't think Gilmer County deserves to be like Fannin or Pickens or Cobb or Forsyth, and I don't really want us to be like those counties. I want us to be Gilmer County because that's what we've always been. You have an elected right now. You have an elected probate judge in Pickens County that is an attorney, and in Fannin County you have an elected probate judge that is an attorney. But you have two different situations going on there. You've got a probate judge in Pickens County that closed his office. He's completely disassociated with any kind of law practice or anything like that. He keeps his license current, which I suspect these gentlemen will keep their license current. I will keep my license current as a surveyor. But he pretty much closed he closed his business down, and he's, not having any issues that I know of as far as conflicts. However, in Fannin County, you've got a gentleman that is elected probate judge that has kept his law practice. And by the research that I have done, there is a big difference between Pickens and Fannin County, to the point that it's now become several conflicts that's going on in Fannin County that has caused a great amount of trouble in Fannin County. And when I say trouble, I don't mean nobody's going to jail, but as far as the citizens of Fannin County, there is an issue going on right now in Fannin.
Mr. Chastain, I have to go on to some more things, but I don't want you to leave today without asking for people to vote for you. I like to give people an opportunity. So,
thank you, Brian. I want to say again,
I
appreciate you letting me come in this morning. I want to say this to the other candidates, or to the folks that's watching. The other three candidates that's running for this position, I don't know of a race that I can remember in my lifetime that's had this kind of race where all four of us have been able to get along. It's been very civil. There's been no dirty blows or cheap shots. And I want to tell them that I appreciate that. I said in the beginning that I was not going to let this get out of hand, let this get ugly, as we've seen in our presidential race, and even some of our state races here has been not very pleasant to watch and listen to. So I want to say to them, I appreciate you being who you are and just staying with the issues at hand. I wish them all luck. I want to tell the folks of Gilmer County how much I appreciate the fact that I've been able to serve you for 8 years as your county surveyor, 20 some odd years as a pastor in the church. A lot of you know me. I'm involved in a lot of different civic organizations here in the county. I love Gilmer County, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I would humbly ask you to vote for me if you want somebody like me as your probate judge, somebody that'll be honest, fair, and compassionate, and do everything I can to help you. I humbly ask you for your vote on May 24th. We've got one more week of early voting, so I'd ask you to get out this week for early voting. And if you can't make it this week, May the 24th, which is next Tuesday, will be the primary. So we'd humbly ask you to vote for us, Scott Chastain, as probate judge, Gilmer County.
Thank you very much. You told the story about you used the example of being an attorney and a judge, and on this side of the bench and this side of the bench. Well, obviously I can't think of anything that doesn't relate back to baseball. Everything I do usually relates back to baseball. So I just think you should leave knowing this. Okay, I'm a great baseball player. In fact, I am. I'm probably such a good baseball player, I could even play for the Braves now at the point they're at. They could probably put me in. I could suit up this afternoon, right? But I will say I want to go back. I played baseball my whole life. But I'll never forget the first time, and I guess I was maybe 19 or something, the umpire did not show up, and somebody asked me if I could umpire a game. And I'm thinking, well, I've played baseball since I could roll it across the field at 4 years old. I know every rule. Right. I got behind the plate, and I thought, oh, this is not playing the game.
Yep.
This is umpiring the game.
Yep.
And that's exactly where I went to when you said that, because it was, although I played my whole life, umpire.
That's exactly the case.
But the moral of the story, the end of it? Not only am I a great baseball player, I am now a great umpire.
Great umpire, yeah.
Right? You knew that, right?
Because you did it enough to become great, Brian, I'm sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chastain. I appreciate it. As we
Thank
always say at
me.
FetcherNews.com, we We thank you for your willingness to serve, and we wish you well. We're going to take a brief break. When we come back, I'm going to do the sheriff story I told you about, and then George is going to be here, and he has some things he wants to cover with you. So, Lonnie, take us to break.